In an incident painfully capturing her drastically diminished star power, former British royal Meghan Markle suffered an embarrassing public ordeal at the hands of Television Academy security teams this past weekend. The embattled ex-Duchess of Sussex was unceremoniously hauled out of the prestigious 2024 Emmy nomination ceremony by an armada of imposing tow truck convoys, drawing cringe-worthy stares from entertainment luminaries in attendance. According to multiple eyewitness accounts, the farcical spectacle kicked off mere moments after Markle made her surprise, unannounced arrival to the prestigious unveiling event. Departing a rideshare econovan service vehicle in a crumpled mustard pantsuit and scuffed Mary Janes, she was swiftly rebuffed at the credential checkpoint by vigilant security staffers who seemed entirely nonplussed by her decayed celebrity cachet. She just kind of waddled up to the entrance giving that signature phony Markle smile like we're all supposed to be charmed pantsless by the gall of such a brazen PR stunt, recalled one Emmy publicist working the secured perimeter. But the second our team recognized those distinct grifter vibe killer cheekbones from countless humiliating pseudo-events she's disrupted over these past couple years, we initiated full lockdown before she could wedge a compound fracture of self-importance past the velvet ropes. In typical fashion, the Duchess appeared utterly dumbstruck. Her manufactured household name recognition failed to automatically gaslight even the most low-ranking Academy associates into accommodating her reported quid pro quo of lukewarm, Oprah-bestowed media supremacy. Undeterred, she then promptly launched into her patented innocence-defiled act, dramatically clutching pearls while unleashing a volcanic torrent of dissociative babble about feminine wounds and ancestral writs of hallmark destiny. She started emoting these weird convulsions where she kept clenching that corncob teeth grill like someone skull f*** ked Moana for wearing too many inexcusable hairstyles, mocked one audio technician staffer after witnessing the deranged outbursts up close. Then she busts out in these gravelly dyadic oaky raps accusing us all of being imperialist sleepers proliferating, hoarder-grade scarcities of venerative heritage slurry, to deplatform her philovangelical embodiment mysteries. Undaunted by the former cable actress' colorfully convoluted histrionics concerning accusations of expedited material gentrification and overclustered venerative slurry cleanses, the Emmy security corps remained resolute and completely unintimidated. One burly enforcer's stoic nonplussed reactions and terse replies appeared to only exacerbate the Duchess' overwrought oral diarrhea cycles, escalating things towards a hostile Code Garnet scenario. So she just keeps shawl-clutching and frantically yoga-panting at this wall of unbothered bouncers about their gross neglect in assembling properly hydrated ovarian shepherd amplification engorgement pods to elevate her sacrosanct creative mark experience beyond mimetic, hollowed-out bargain chick status, a red carpet handler recounted while navigating the aftermath. Next thing you know, she starts squatting down and convulsing like she's astrally projecting the divine feminine back into our EVE online body sphere for reconfigured networking upgrades. Just a wild scene of a bourgeoisie dipstick completely decomposing into entropy without any safety nets. What ensued next could only be described as a full-scale Sunset Boulevard psychic evacuation, one equal parts baffling and depressingly pathetic. Upon realizing her appropriated grace and countenanced credibility had completely flatlined among jaded industry elite, Duchess of Sussex immediately shifted into a precarious lifeguard's triage of metaphysical wound conveyance. Eyewitnesses describe a disturbing metamorphic episode where Markle appeared to completely disassemble her mortal, zoetrope karma storm remnants, while frantically trying to recalibrate all nearby sacred technologies back to some indecipherable factory shaman reset. I'm talking full-on mustard pants crazy. She started ripping off clothes and scattering them symbolically in some willy-nilly infinity pattern, described one senior event staffer after braving the carnage firsthand. Like full frontal pantsuits and disarrayed formal stockings being cast in geometries across the pathway to honor different ancestral memory patterns or something. Just, stripping away in supplication to the loom lords of destitute numinous drapery logics we as mere civilians cannot comprehend on this earthly vibrational plane of male gazing. Before long, hallowed event grounds became utterly transformed into a lotus-strewn Byzantine maze of lucidly hallucinated spirit awakenings and impromptu howling shrines, punctuated by echoing ceremonial screeds in unrecognizable archaic tongues apparently formulating restorative decolonized gemispheric arrangements for the grievously wronged Duchess. Onlookers seemed mildly amused yet mostly bewildered as Markle deconstructed the final remnants of her postpartum body down to a beaded lariat and mud-streaked clump of hair before fully transcending all performance trappings and human attire. I don't know what she thought she was accomplishing. I mean, it was like a one-woman civil protest of the soul via interpretive data shadowboxing against inanimate geometries. A police officer on site attempted to explain the bizarre peripetia between calling for emergency municipal backup. Like, hands covered in Littlebrook Farm BioLife extracting her placenta eggs and licking them for tot-loaded hydration while situating them in discarded promotional cauldrons to accrete the generative plasmic portals. Even for veteran LAPD tactical squads specializing in diffusing delusional Hollywood outbreaks of the extremely weird, the award ceremony soon descended into overpowering waves of theatric solipsism and jabbering indigeniosities no officer was ever previously trained to productively decipher. At times, Markle crossed precarious lines into states of mental fugue observers described as being hijacked by danced conduits from higher dimensional intercessors, her stark lithe form contorting in ceaseless fits of humanoid defoliation and phylogistic epiphanic ruptures like some grotesquely abstracted art installation temporarily commandeering all focus. As increasingly audible volleys of culturally appropriated Kundalini throat liturgies intensified, confounded law enforcement decided they had no other recourse than to embark on an unconventional mobile containment and extraction protocol. Mobilizing emergency tow convoys, a full-scale hypercordon Sally Port was constructed by armored municipal flatbeds to safely transport the wild-eyed Duchess to secure waystation facilities for dispiriting and intensive triaged calibration away from public scrutiny. After she began dry birthing shadow homunculi from her biomystic cloaca while animistically relinquishing any remaining shreds of housebroke pretense to become one with the unsown Heilform, we realized we'd crossed multiple fire-watched Rubicons and fell squarely into the dark quarantine of intensive deprogrammed intervention, the field marshal overseeing the elaborate logistical ballet grimly confirmed. Coordinating separate sanitary conveyance vectors, my team was forced to construct a pop-up peregrinic staging scaffold using flatbed hulks to safely contain the thrashing radial megafauna conjuring its astral Phoenician glamours upon our plane. Despite enforcement's best efforts at humane defusing and vehicular custody transfer, the Duchess allegedly remained in an unpredictable hyper-accelerative placental renaissance well into the next morning, alternating discordant outbursts likening herself to everything from the omni-venerated matrimorphic of a million woven sky soils to that unbodied principality exuding the biosanct argiculture of true story birthing, depending on what point of ego death she was gushing toward. Only after being subjected to carefully administered electromagnet probings and standard-issue sonic wavelength therapies did the wandering psychonaut's fugue vitals slowly begin stabilizing back to some nominally cohered human frequencies. She ultimately emerged from the ordeal a bit groggy and confused after a full blackout cycle, though still lucid enough to realize her eternal invisibility cloak had been thoroughly yanked aside like a common mortal curtain. When she finally came to and glimpsed the ceremonial seating charts filled with famous Hollywood faces snickering at her bedraggled, completely defrocked self from their proletarian velour thrones, you could just hear the poor little puppet's whole inflated ego membrane wilt and deflate into one giant primal scream, lamented one decompression attendant providing post-show comfort to the devastated patient. Just a real dark night for her to confront such an unforgiving cosmic truth without any birdseed cloaks of privilege to cower behind. That no amount of jade eggery or desiccated serpent talismans can resurrect Duchess dream hunger when its woven magic well finally runs bone dry under the collective gaze.